What's up, everyone? Welcome to Barstool Breakdown. Today is Saturday, August 12th, and the pirate ship is back. We got a great show for you today. We got an interview with John Rich. Let's get it.
Get sturdy as fuck.
This is it.
I should be over all the butterflies, but I'm into you. And baby, even on the worst nights, I'm into you.
All right, welcome to Barstool Breakdown. I'm Frankie. I'm here with my co-host Jonathan. How we doing, Jonathan?
Another great week. I mean, phenomenal week in the Barstool sports world. I'm ready to break it down, Frankie. Let's get right to it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first things first, the pirate ship is back. Dave Portnoy.
It sure is.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go. I'm not fucking leaving. I'm not fucking leaving. Yeah. Oh yeah. Full Wolf of Wall Street effect for sure. A video that broke the internet. I mean, everything's back. And not only is the pirate ship back, he brought back a huge castmate in Mincy. We can get into that a little later, but I'll just lead off with it because Mincy's back, and nothing feels better than Mincy being back like that. Him driving or letting the car go on auto cruise and just celebrating, banging the wheel to the airbags about to explode. It was an awesome scene to see that as well. And Dave Portnoy being back, I know there's people out there that want to talk shit and be like, oh, we haven't seen the true pirate ship, but we do. We know the effect of Dave Portnoy being at the helm again, and it's exciting, definitely, for the Barstool being back to Barstool.
No doubt. You got Mincy grabbing his nuts on the phone with the other hand and going 60 plus down the highway. Pulling
pretty
a
dangerous,
full KB. But yeah, when you got the Prez back at the helm, you just gotta do what you gotta do. So
yeah, and you get like with Dave being back, you've already got the clip of him in the office calling out everybody, and even like he did like a little interview on Fox News, which was great. And then he had a clip of him even, just saying they're going back to making content full time, making people laugh. That's all they care about, So that's the Barstool we love.
That's right. And speaking of being back, Barstool Radio is back. So go ahead. You start out. What was your stick out moment for Barstool Radio this week?
Well, I mean, it was Dave being back. It was that first radio show. Dave was in, going over like how it all happened. But I mean, you get that Barstool Radio feel again to where they're doing the call-ins and KFC running the show, and KFC has been super hyped up about the show and saying like, he's going to put his all into it because it makes him feel like, invigorated again. It gives him that Barstool feel again. So
yeah, and I mean, it's an awesome, like, it almost feels like an extra thing on the plate now. I'm like, oh God, now I got to listen to this. But it's like I got to listen to it in a good way. You know what I mean? I'm excited to listen to it. So my top three things, I'll start with number three. I'll go backwards. So number three, Smitty. Okay. Yeah. Smitty versus Dave, freak out. Unbelievable. The dude, like KFC said, he just seems to get dunked on all the time. I actually sympathize with him, especially when he was going. It was Smitty versus Nate Dogg back in the day. I was a big time Team Smitty guy. I just felt like he always had the bad rap, but I feel like he also doesn't know how to just roll with it. So it's tough sometimes to be on his side.
You're right. He's got to roll with the punches a little more, but he's getting hurt by them all. You can tell, like, he's taking this serious. He's pissed off, and he won't let it drop. He's saying it on every show. So we'll see. He even mentioned on KFC radio, he was like, I don't know, like maybe after my contract's done, who knows if I'll be at Barstool. So yeah,
he said that was sure. I think he said that on Barstool Radio actually, that when he went into there. So that's one of the ones that stuck out to me. And then that leads into the number two, which was Nate Dogg versus Dave, which is the guy that knows how to roll with it too much to the point where it's annoying. He always tries to make it like, oh, this is a joke, whatever. And it's like, sometimes it's just like, dude, just eat your shit because you did something wrong. You didn't come in on time. You worked on it from home. Like, okay, we don't give a fuck. He wants you there, So that was a huge, like, welcome back to the old Barstool when it's just like, Dave's ripping on the dog and Dave's ripping on Smitty. I just hope that Smitty versus the dog would come back, but it seems like that's not going to happen. So
yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, but the dog definitely an interesting week too, inviting himself to dinner with Prez and Erica, and I forget who else was there.
Gaz.
But Prez, Erica, and Gaz, and then of course Nate Dogg. all pumped up, taking pictures outside, saying we brought back Barstool. Like,
LA
he's taking
Gears.
some credit. Yeah, yep, yeah. Wearing some light up shoes to dinner, a very important dinner, is a bold move. But good for the dog. He got to eat with Prez finally. So whatever. I'm cool with Nate being there.
So my number one thing is probably just me being biased because I'm just so over this shit. Is Dave versus Dave. Dave Portnoy versus David Walsh. Dumb fuck David Walsh. This
Yeah, he
guy.
made a splash.
I mean, I get what I don't know. Maybe I don't. I think he like doesn't understand that like you're just gonna get shit on if you try to do this stuff, especially if you're just trying to act like, oh, I'm gonna fight anybody at Rough and Rowdy and whatever. When you get fights, if Feidelberg is against you, that's a problem. So
yeah, fights.
he
I
came
need
in.
I need fights to relax on the him fighting David Walsh. Like he was in Stoolie Wednesday. That's when it came up. We can either let Lawson go in there, even though if Lawson doesn't want to, I'll step up. No fights. Don't waste your time with
You
David
guys,
Walsh. It's
you're
5'11",
not gonna.
260.
I was gonna
He'll
say.
get out cardioed by anybody in the ring. But
I
yeah,
want to see
it's a
fucking
bold
David
move.
Walsh versus an Abel brother. That's what I'll see. It'd be the fucking fight of the century right there. So that was my number one on the list, just because it was almost a gift from the gods when you have a guy that doesn't gut it, as Dave says. When you don't get it and you sit there and tweet at Dave Portnoy, will pencil you in after asking him for his black card, coming on Stoolie Wednesday, making the joke, yeah, he needs to share the points and spread it around. And it was like, dude, you don't gut
He's
it.
a bold guy.
So what a
bold
gift
guy.
to Barstool Radio.
Yeah, they opened up with that on I think it was Thursday's episode with the clip of him from there, and he was just I don't know. He's been put on silence by All Business Pete, so we'll see if we hear from Mr. Walsh anytime soon.
That's right. And if Feidelberg doesn't do it, Lawson will eat your ass, David Walsh. Don't you forget it. All right, so let's move into PMT. What do you got on PMT this week?
PMT, I mean, they had great interviews as always. They had Von Miller for Monday, Matt Olson on Wednesday, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown on Friday. I really enjoyed the St. Brown interview a lot just because he was kind of like giving the shit right back to the guys. And like even for Big Cat being a Bears fan was cool. But then like, besides the meat and potatoes of the show, a couple of key moments for me was learning that Tommy Smokes doesn't like blowjobs. He just says he doesn't know what to do. Like, is he supposed to make noises? Is he supposed to like whatever? Like he says they're stressful for him, and that's a little interesting caveat.
Chaps was also on PMT, which the Chaps interviews, I'm usually kind of like they're hit or miss for me, but whenever he brings out Big Time Tommy and he's got the voice going and the things like that, I don't know what it is about that voice. I guess it's because I'm from New York and like the accent and everything, I just like kind of resonates with me that like I hear people talk like that. It's just so funny to me. The roasts were great. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't love the FDR. It was really good. It was a good, little FDR. I was gonna say he did a good job, but I just love when he talks in a voice like this. It's just so
he's
like,
the Max one is definitely more up my alley. But I thought the FDR one was good, especially like I think he might have done the Chum Lee joke with the FDR one, and that one really stuck. Where he,
unreal.
Chum Lee has recently lost weight, but now people are mistaking him as Maxi Delonte. So throw a couple picks up there for that. They're pretty close. It was that was my favorite roast that they had in there.
Yeah,
and then
I think actually, as funny as it is, my favorite was they were talking about this place. I forget where it was exactly, and it was like shaped like a humongous square. And they were like, and that's the second biggest square behind Jake Marsh.
That's a good one too.
And he laughed his ass off too. So he was a good sport. So that was a good one. So shout out to Chaps. And then last thing I had on PMT was the fact that Matt Olson admitted that the Braves in the locker room, they'll watch the Frank the Tank reaction videos. Frank the Tank, I think, not only is just the polarizing figure at Barstool, but now he's also like actually interfering with the Mets on how good they're playing, like in the clubhouse, possibly even. So it's just this guy is becoming bigger than the company itself, to be honest. It's getting
right.
insane.
We've been talking about it and saying it in Stoolie Wednesday for a long time. Frank the Tank is the most polarizing fan in fandom, and he's become. I mean, not only are the NFL guys watching him, the baseball guys are watching him. I'm watching him. My mom's probably watching him. Your dad's probably watching him. Like Frank the Tank is the biggest fan in baseball and biggest fan in fandom even. And it continues to impress how many people like he's reached with his, global reach of that is the Tank. I got one more thing on PMT. They just make me laugh when they're talking about new content ideas. Well, stepping away from Penn. You got Hank with the leaf blower with a pound of weed. Like he's gonna smoke it through a leaf blower. I don't fully understand it. I have to look into what that is again. But the other one that they mentioned was like, oh, we can finally do our 3-man scramble on shrooms with Jake dressed up as Toad and chasing him around. That would be some legendary content for sure. It takes you back to the PFT, who shout out PFT, his Firefest was going to Ireland. But only for like 36 hours and having to fly back. But it brings back the memories of PFT, like being on MDMA in Hong Kong with Donnie, shooting videos like that. Like that shit you could only do before the deal, and now that it's back, like he's back out in Ireland with Donnie for his wedding, and maybe we'll probably get some good content out of that. Corey Smutledge was out there, he tuned into Stoolie Wednesday and let us know he's going to be shooting a video for Donnie's wedding.
Yeah.
And you got all the content guys out there, and I'm sure that'll come back with it. Also, congrats to Donnie, he deserves it.
All right, well, let's move over to the yak then. I'm starting the yak off with my man TJ. The chat was ruthless. The guy spent the entire night traveling, him and Mook driving 3+ hours to go to the airport or whatever it was, just being up all night. I know
they did more than that.
I know he slept on the plane and everything, so people were like, oh, whatever. The guy got to the office and had to pretty much put together a live show on the fly. Now, as somebody who was listening, trying to see it live, it was very frustrating, especially when I'm setting up my classroom for, kids that are going to start coming in the next day or whatever. So I was like, damn, I want to listen. But I mean, you think that he's not affected by this and that he doesn't want the show to run as smoothly as possible? You know what I mean? So people going at him like, come on, TJ. It's like, shut the fuck up, dude. The guy is doing everything he can and is, obviously the GOAT. You got Barstool Radio cutting out every 2 seconds. People are like, where's TJ? Bring TJ in,
Right.
So it's like, it's crazy how people are in those chats, man.
After that, Yak, you had Mincy and Brandon being back. So Mincy, like we talked about coming back, but him being on the Yak is always great. Having him watch 2 Girls, 1 Cup, and
reaction.
Yeah, also having him watch a live birth or whatever. Like, they're going straight to it. They're not baby stepping into this. They're back, and then Brandon back. Them talking about his car accident trauma. I'm kind of on Brandon's side on that, but it definitely helps to voice that stuff out with the homies and riff about it a little bit because it helps you realize, okay, hey man, not that big a deal. Shout out Dwayne D or whatever. I don't know if KB ever found him, but they were on the search for the EMT Dwayne D, Johnston County on I-70 something. If you guys find him, tweet at Max Delante, and he'll point him in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the accident thing was insane. I'm not gonna lie. I love Brandon, but why did he admit that? I'm so confused. I mean, I know that, like, I don't know, maybe he didn't realize it was going to happen, or he's just like a good person and he could not tell the truth or something, but you can't tell them that the car was able to be driven off the road and that you didn't do it, but somebody else got in your car and drove it off the road and then you walked off the road or whatever.
Man. He was shook.
Believe me, I've been in those. I live in Florida. It rains here constantly. So like my wife has actually gotten an accident where she hydroplaned and went off the road and was in like a huge puddle and had to get pulled out of her car. Totally fine. The car got totaled because it was in water, but she was totally fine. Obviously she was probably shook up too, but I don't think she was even as shook up as Brandon was. So to me, it was just funny. I feel bad for him for sure, because getting into a car accident is terrible, especially when it's a car accident that you're not in an accident with another car. It was just weather that took you off the road. But anyway, that was just a, insane thing to admit to the guys on the Yak, when I just felt like you got to know they're going to rip you up on that one. So,
well, I feel like that also leads into why he wasn't telling so many people about it at first too, because he knew he was going to get shit for it eventually. So he was just waiting for all the shit to come down at once. It's pretty smart play by Brandon. And also on the Yak this week, you had the discovery of Scoof Master. Connor Griffin, 11 years old, throwing out some YouTube videos. He did it for 3 years as a college football analyst. You had all the pedophiles in it, and then also some random Oregon college football show rooting him on. Obviously, as he got older, not as much viewers, but the shout out for the Yak Chat for finding that. The pure look of shock on Connor Griffin's face when he's like, "Wait." Someone called him Scoof. He was like, "Oh no!" Like he
Yeah,
was like,
Big
"I'm
Cat's
fucked."
like, all right, Scoof, and he's like,
Yeah, all right, Scoof.
how,
He's
you
like,
didn't. How did you find that? No, you didn't find that. Like he was
Yeah, right.
completely. And the best part is I went and looked up on Twitter. Scoof Master is on Twitter. He's got like 7 followers or something, and one
Hell
tweet.
yeah.
And it was like, we're gonna have this account's gonna be tweeting about live college football stuff, whatever. And that was the only tweet there is. It never continued. So I think Connor Griff, you need to pick up the Scoof Master account and get it rolling again, man.
Yeah, I mean, but it also, Big Cat also was like, I also appreciate that hustle. It's like, I know it's not 1-to-1 ratio there, but like, you know, back in the day, he's making college football, breaking it down and displaying his parents' credit cards all over, but like, you know, having a good time doing it. And now he's got his, you know, I guess, I don't know if it's his dream job, but he's, you know, dream job of sorts at Barstool Sports. So it's pretty awesome. Friday's Yak, you had Meek Phil with the milk jug. They've been bringing Meek Phil milk. They brought in, you know, cups, and it's been a running bit now. But this time, the intern walked in with a pitcher of milk that Milk Phil himself decided to chug and spill all over the front of himself because there's nothing I'd rather be
He's just doing his
covered
job.
in. Nothing I'd rather be covered in than milk. Nothing else I'd rather be
Could
covered
be worse.
in than milk. Yeah, it could be worse for sure. But then he also, there's a, you know, the Viva La Stool had the full clip, or the Yak had the full clip afterwards of him, you know, about to puke in the trash can, but then running and, you know, puking up more than a pitcher of milk. Seemed how like he had more milk in his stomach, probably from like, he is Milk Phil, so he's been drinking milk all day, but he gave back about 1.5 gallons out of that pitcher. It was pretty intense vomiting there.
I was at first when he ran to the bathroom or whatever, I was like, Big Cat would never allow this. Because he was like, oh, they'll take it down, whatever. I was like, wait, do you not remember TJ just puking pink milk out? It's just horrible.
Yeah, no, TJ quote tweeted that, you know, that clip with
he's like, been there, brother, or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Meek milk.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of TJ, they mentioned kind of like future plans as well on the Yak. They'll be filming the case race on Monday, and then they're also going to Stu's house next week on Tuesday to, you know, do a live Yak from Stu's house and all that. They had a great idea for Tim Hitchens to join because we learned that Tim Hitchens can house some root beer. So, you know, they just want to bring Tim Hitchens, you sit him way off in the back, you know, with a cooler full of ice and as much root beer as he can drink. And they want to see if Tim Hitchens can house 30 root beers because he was at Cheesecake Factory doing 20 of them. I'll say it right now, Frankie. I think I could take on Tim Hitchens in a root beer challenge. So, Tim, I know you're a big fan of the show. So, if you see this part and you see that, like, come on, bring it on. I can at least put down 30 root beers before you can. No doubt.
I'm going to move into anus. I don't have much this week, but Danny Conrad was on there. If you guys don't know Danny Conrad, he's from the Chicago office. He's awesome. He's hilarious. They have this little running bit where they made up that he made out with Ice Spice. And it kind of came up again because apparently Danny Conrad's girlfriend was like, oh, yeah, it's the celebrity that you hooked up with. And so, like, even it got to her that she believed it, I guess. And I was like, man, that's such a crazy thing that like bits from Barstool kind of like get out into the world. They just like in his relationship now. So I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. And Danny Conrad's a good guy. Yeah. Producer of Mitch Show, Dog Walk, all that stuff they do there in Chicago. Helps out with the Chicago stool scenes, I'm sure. But yeah, having a guest on Anus always makes it a little, you know, adds another twist into the show. They also Anus. I mean, I don't know if we went over it last week. But Best in the News parts 1 and 2 are out. But we got Kyle showing up wasted again. Gen 3 colossal failure. He's like go puffing to Build-A-Bear because he doesn't want to take his girlfriend to Build-A-Bear. And then reading ad reads and just being like, all right, you know what? And then it's like finishing the ad reads in an all-time way because, Gen 3 really it went downhill fast. So he's on to Gen 4 now.
Yeah, shout out Gen 4. Actually, shout out Gen 3. Gen 3 was my favorite, Kyle, actually, at the moment. I just feel like I hope Gen 3 comes back because that was awesome for the 2 weeks I think we had.
Us, for sure. Yeah, it's awesome. And then even at the end of the pod, like he's like, so where can we go to get the most wasted? So like Gen 3 is not over yet.
He's like, so like, where do you guys go to get like the most fucked up?
Yeah, your boy Mook trying to flip lesbians, and then also Mo Bamba DM'd him about the joke that went over last week, and Mook kind of fucked that up with like his DM response because he was like Mo, which actually, when you look at is moo. So he started off mooing at him. He started off mooing right back at him in the DMs. Told him he was a big fan twice, and then also mentioned the joke was like, "Oh yeah, we fucked the same chick or whatever." And that girl had apparently texted him back and was like, "You got to stop talking about Mo Bamba." So I don't know, but Mo told him that he'd come on the pod, so we'll see. That'd be an awesome collab.
I
Mo Bamba
could
on
not
Anus.
even imagine. I could not imagine somebody that doesn't understand Anus being on Anus, like from the outside world, not even in Barstool universe at all. That would just be just an insane collab, I think. So real quick, I'm just going to move into the bracket. It was the worst drunk behavior. I'm not going to go over the winner. I'm not going to go over all the topics. I just want to hear from you. What do you think the worst drunk behavior is?
The worst drunk behavior, it's like when I think of like being drunk, it's like when you're out with the homies and stuff, it's just the one guy that you just can't like control like at all in public. I guess it's like, when you're just like out there in everybody's face, you think everybody needs to hear from strictly you, and you're talking over everyone or making yourself like the center of the show. It's like, dude, relax. We're all here to have a good time. You don't need to be the leader and content director of my drinking time. So just being an asshole when drunk. I mean, it's the worst drunk behavior, and not recognizing you're being an asshole or having that self-awareness to be like, maybe I should calm down and grab a water, or like, just at least step out of this guy's face. Go grab a mint real quick.
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%. My worst behavior is the guy that's always all over you, like the drunk guy that's like he's like hanging on you, and like he's like it's like not just hanging on you like, oh, I got my arm around my buddy. It's like he's got all of his weight on you because he doesn't understand how drunk he is, and he's just like keeps doing that. He's bumping into you, punching you or something. Like those guys drive me fucking nuts. It's like, all right, dude, dial it back, pull it together. Like you're making me sober because you can't fucking keep your shit together. So I want to move into KFC radio. I'm not sure if you caught that or not, but I watched from the earlier episodes of the week. Chief was on, and it was a pretty funny episode. They brought up the White Sox Dave versus the White Sox fan, where he went there and the White Sox fan told White Sox Dave, "I don't like you." And then he was like, "I want to fight you" or something. And then they just like, "All right, well, let's do this. We'll just each take a shot and then we'll punch each other in the stomach as hard as we can until somebody throws up." And they did that, and Dave lost. And then him and the guy were hanging out the whole night, apparently, at the game.
You got to be boys if you're just sitting there. Like, if it's not like it's, if you decide to settle a dispute by taking shots and punching the other one in the stomach until you're forced to vomit, you got to be homies with that guy after. It's like, back in the day when I would get into a fight, it's like you'd always have that respect for the guy afterwards. It's like, hey, at least he knuckled up. In this case, at least they knuckled up and threw up. So, I guess they have an unspoken bond there for sure. But it was a great episode with Chief being on, talking White Sox Dave and the Chicago change and the office date being pushed back. But Fights also like mentioning how he was on White Sox Dave's side with the Velcro wall. He was like, I think he was doing it right. I think I would have messed up my face too, because I definitely would have led with my head. So Fights, giving the honest and standing up for White Sox Dave a little bit there was cool as well. And then in KFC as well, the Nikki Smoke versus KFC beef still getting talked about and continuing.
Yep, I got something on here too.
Yeah, and the last note that I really had on KFC was Fights only gets boxers, on Christmas or birthdays or whatever. Boxers and socks. He never buys his own. Yeah, he says like they're basically disintegrating. Like they'll turn into holes, and then once they rip, they're done. Final.
Yeah, so I had here on my notes too that KFC called Nikki Smokes Nikki Sweets, which I don't know why that made me laugh. I was just like, that's just a horrible nickname. Who would have that nickname unless it was like some OnlyFans girl? That's what it sounds like. It does not sound like a gambler.
I love those kind of shots though, because like it's like his fucking name, but you're just like, you know what? I'm not even gonna say your fucking name yet. I'm gonna call you.
He's like, I don't know. I don't even remember what I was calling him. What was I calling him? Nikki Sweets. Like it was just like so ridiculous. But and the last thing is funny. It's funny as hell because my one note that I had on here that I was like, I wonder if this is gonna be a big thing or not. They said that Fights and KFC were both disappointed that nobody blogged about the boat fight. Right, the big boat fight, the big race war thing, whatever.
Yeah,
it was blogged like a day or two later, apparently, and they were all disappointed. And I was like, man, like KFC seems like he's really getting into this. Like he's gonna want to like make New York better. Maybe it'll be back like the old school. And then what do we get? Like 2 days later, Dave Portnoy buys back Barstool Sports. So I was like, holy shit, we're fucking back, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, and Kevin is definitely taking the reins too. You have that picture that I think is going to be like one of those you remember for a while. Is Kevin leading like the New York office meeting? And you will look around the room, everyone's paying attention, even Frank the Tank. But Frank's got his arms crossed and looks like no one's telling him that Frank was right. But it's Kevin. I think is really taking this GM of comedy, or I guess like they're doing away with GMs. Big Cat mentioned that as well. Like we don't know if we're still doing that, but Kevin is going to be number one over there in New York as long as Dave and Big Cat aren't there, and he's stepping into that role nicely for sure. I want to hop over to we'll talk about it in our interview a little bit, but Barstool Investigates with John Rich and Nick Fasoli going down to investigate year 10. He threw on the cowboy hat. He went as Nashville as he could. He was fitting in, sliding on the bus. Of course, the little bus scene was set up, but I thought it was a good little cameo there by Taylor, act like he's catching him snooping. And then Will Compton not knowing anything about it really, and them just, telling Will, hey, man, it was all fake. Like Taylor Lewan saying, like, maybe I shouldn't spoil too much, but yeah, Taylor Lewan saying, like, hey, I messaged Arthur, I told him it's his turn to take a shot on you. Like, I know my boy wanted to be back in the NFL. But I mean, John Rich did such a good job with that, having Arian Foster on saying that he'd run for more if Will was out on the field when they played.
Yeah.
Or having on all of Will's ex-coaches, or even Will's
can't
wife.
He got Arthur
having
Smith.
on Will's,
that's unbelievable. Like such a cool thing for John Rich, man. Shout out to him for sure.
Yeah, and my favorite cameo of that is like having on Will's wife, but like he blurs her face. But before like he even blurs her face, he's like having on one of Will Compton's best friends, and it's like a picture of their wedding day that's not blurred, and then it goes straight to the wife, and her face is blurred. That's it. It's clearly the wife, but it's it gave me it was reminiscent of the first Barstool Investigates when he was talking to the horse and Ben Mentz. He just he throws in funny little shit like that, and maybe that's Fasoli doing it behind the scenes too. It's just it's fun little stuff. We had Mr. Portnoy and fights on the dog walk draft this week. It was things we don't understand, and for the first 15 minutes, Mr. Portnoy couldn't understand how to join through Zoom, and it's an all-time visual too when you're on YouTube. Because like everyone else is seated in front of their computer, like in front of a mic even, or whatever. And Mr. Portnoy's point of view is just like up his nostrils because he's got the phone like laying on the counter,
walking like this.
Yeah, exactly. It's the funniest way to do it ever. And Mr. Portnoy is just a legend. Whatever show or what he called into Barstool Radio, even like he made a couple cameos this week, and he's just a hell of a guy to
1-1 pick atomic clock. Why won't my atomic clock work?
Well, not just that. Why won't the temperature on my atomic clock work? Right. Not even just the clock. Yeah, right.
All right, well, let's get into the Barstool Beast of the Week.
I'm the best of the orphanage. I am the best one here.
My Beast of the Week, though, someone that I'm going to give it to who I think might actually appreciate it. I don't even know if he'd even see it because he's so goddamn busy. Is Chef Donnie. Dude's not getting a bunch of love on the in the Barstool world. That's because you're not really seeing the stuff from France right now. But the guy is grinding, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at it, he posted a video the other day. He made hay ice cream. It was hay flavored ice cream with like all these other different types of things and this mole and this that. I mean, he is becoming like a true chef, and I think that he's to me, a beast is sticking to what you're doing and becoming better at it, and he's just becoming better every single day. So going to work in 95 to 100 degrees, filming himself walking there, filming himself while he's working. Shout out Chef Donnie, you're my Beast of the Week.
Yeah, the reason that he's the Barstool Beast, not just a beast, is because he's turning that hard work into content. He's doing the day in the life vlog every day. And then he's going out at night, still partying with them, and then somehow up at 5 and back into the restaurant with the chef. Dave even said that, like, he's trying to convince that chef. Yeah, he's trying to convince that chef to do a little pop-up spot in Chicago, which add to that beastiness for sure. But yeah, shout out Donnie. He's a great beast. My Beast of the Week, I hate to pander because we had him on the show. It's John Rich. And it's John Rich because not only did Barstool Investigates come out, which you mentioned is already over 100K. He was on Barstool Radio this week. He was on the Yak. He was writing blogs about Fasoli and how crazy of a crazy person Nick Fasoli is. And then there was even a blog about him being on Fox News. It was there's a funny note in there too, because like he's only on Fox News because they're talking about Dave Portnoy's video. He even like in there, it's like a blurry picture of him doing this. But yeah, he was in the office, so he wasn't getting yelled at when Dave was yelling at everyone, not sitting in the garbage section. And then when he was on the Yak, he went into a little more of his background than even we got from him. Like we learned he once was doing meth from a van in LA. So
yeah,
it's interesting stuff, but you know, he's
unreal.
a beast. He's had a great week for sure in my eyes, for sure. Shout out John Wrench. He's my Barstool Beast of the week.
All right, well, let's move into the Barstool Least of the week.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and lead off with this one, Frankie. My least of the week, it's obvious. It's that, you know, fat guy David Walsh. We talked about him earlier, but I just thought like everything that he's done, obvious beast, well, not beast, obvious least of the week. Coming into Stoolie Wednesday and getting dunked on by Stoolies, even getting roasted by KFC, not being able to defend yourself because All Business Pete has put a mute timer on him. And he's controlling his guys because KFC even mentioned when he was going in on him, he was like, this is what I hate. Like, I hate guys like this that will come in, BIT, see how much fun it'll be, and then just all of a sudden decide that they're just going to do their own content or be their own content. And it never works out that way. So David, I wish nothing from the best for you, because you know Cliff's in your corner, but those 4 large coffees ain't gonna do it, buddy. You got a lot of comeback to do for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was mine as well. David Walsh, you are the least of the week. Just like I said earlier, it was the number one moment on Barstool Radio for me, that some dummy is going to come in there that doesn't know what he's doing and tries to just insert himself, and you can't do that in the Barstool world. So thanks for coming on Stoolie Wednesday. Appreciate it. But you're a dummy and you're the least of the week. And I'm sorry that you're not going to like that.
Beat your ass in a rough and rowdy, David Walsh. I would beat your ass. I wouldn't eat it. I'd beat it.
All right. Well, that'll lead us into the Barstool Beef of the week.
Fuck you! Well, fuck you too! Oh, my God! What? Brandon,
So why did I say that leads us into the Barstool Beef of the week? Because my Barstool Beef of the week is Dave versus David Walsh. Pretty much could have said anybody versus David Walsh because it was all the Stoolies, Dave, KFC, Feidelberg. I guess just say Barstonians versus David Walsh. So the Barstool Nation versus David Walsh. Like I said, the guy comes in, just doesn't know what he's doing. I feel bad because I'm just pounding on him right now, but I also don't, because I feel like he just still doesn't get it. And it's like, just get it together, bro. You're IT. You're not the guy. It was hilarious. If you saw it, he was in the background when Dave was making the announcement on Stool Scenes. He was sitting in the background of that video with his little fat stomach hanging out over his thing, typing on his phone and shit. And I was thinking to myself, man, that's the guy. So shout out David Walsh. You're getting quite the content boost for these past week, especially here on Barstool Breakdown.
Oh yeah. And I got no qualms with that beef either. I'll just actually use it to lead straight into mine, because I think that you could have chose a different Dave that could have been involved in a lot of beefs this week, and it's Dave Portnoy versus Smitty was mine. You know, Dave was coming at him for being lazy, you know, saying he only wrote 7 blogs last month, and those are just the facts. And I know, like, you know, Smitty just had a kid and all that stuff too, but so, you know, Smitty's giving it back too. He's like getting mad, as I mentioned earlier, on KFC radio. He's getting mad on Pig Central, and he's like still bringing up the Fortnite stream. And like Dave, like the most recent one I seen, he quote tweeted the Pig Central clip and was like, is this idiot still talking about like that stream? He's like, why doesn't he realize that he's wrong? Or, you know, of course, in David in El Presidente fashion, it was said a different way. But yeah, that beef is, I guess, warranted, because, you know, Dave's always been on Smitty's case a little bit, and you could have chose Dave to beef with anyone this week. He was firing shots at everybody, because Prez is back. The pirate ship has a captain again, and we're just gonna get more and more of these beefs. I expect Dave Portnoy to be let's see, a common resident here on the Barstool Beef for the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I kind of mentioned that earlier too. I said Dave versus Smitty, Dave versus Nate, Dave versus David Walsh. Those were the three things that I was saying, and those were my three. I picked David Walsh because, again, dummy. All right, and that'll bring us to the comment of the week. Vacation mode. Kite! I'm flying a kite right now. Let's go. All right, well, I'll start this one off because my comment is one of our boys from the group chat, Stoolie Memes. So shout out Stoolie Memes. It was a picture comment. It was when Dave announced that they were getting the pirate ship back. He's owning the company. And, basically Mincy was coming back, all this stuff. It was the picture of the boat fight. It was the picture of the guy with the chair, and it said Dave. And then the lady that he was crushing in the head with the chair, it said Penn. And then there's the guy that's staring at the camera, just leaning over the ledge, going like this. And it says Mincy. And I thought, what an excellent reply. Should have had more love, honestly. Shout out Stoolie Memes. Great meme.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Stoolie Memes always producing some fire out there, too. He had one video, I'm pretty sure that it was used. I forget by the account exactly. But, yeah, Stoolie Memes is always putting out some heat. So he definitely deserves some comment of the week in here.
Yeah, he actually got less likes on this one than he did on some other comments. But I thought this was the funniest one. So shout out Stoolie Memes for the comment of the week.
I'm touching right back into the Dave Portnoy beefs. We could have said, his beef with Rico this week, but the problem is Rico dunked on Prez. Rico quote tweeted Dave. So Dave tweeted a screenshot of a conversation between him and Bosco where Dave was like, "Did you use my Little League video and just edit over it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did, whatever." So he tweets that screenshot out and it's like, what are our thoughts on Barstool employees, stealing videos just to edit over them? And then Bosco with the ultimate comment, he quote tweets Dave and says, "Won't happen again. The last thing we need is more of your videos being leaked." I mean, if you know, but it's a callback to Dave Portnoy's sex tape.
Federal crime.
Fucking insane. And that, I didn't even see a response from Dave after that. So it was like
I've never seen Dave get ratioed, especially by Rico like that. And he was just like, I guess it was just like, all right, on to the next thing. Smitty now, maybe. That was
thousands of likes for Rico. I mean, he was last
unreal.
I checked, he was up to 7,000-8,000 on that, and that was with less views. And Dave Portnoy's original tweet ended up getting like 3-point-something million views. So it was a very notable comment, and Rico definitely he walked away the winner. He was my least last week, and he could have been my beast for this comment alone, but he dunked on Prez, and that's tough to do. Thank you as always for making it this far in the show. We hope you enjoyed our segments and our breakdown this week. We're gonna roll into another great interview we got to conduct with the John Rich TV. Coming off of his Barstool Investigates, we talk a little bit about that, about how he got on Barstool, his interesting life, and what led him to where he is now. So without further ado, let's get to it. And now, John Rich.
All right, we're here with a very special guest, the winner of Barstool Idol. Well, 4th place, but still got the job. Dave gave him the job first, so he's our winner, Mr. John Rich. How we doing, brother?
What's up, y'all? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome to the breakdown.
Big fan of you guys. I like what you're doing here. It's how many people have you had on this so far?
It's been, so we started with Neil, Stoolie's Clubhouse. Rightfully so. He got us more into it. We got TJ, and then Steve. Che before TJ. Yeah, and then we're looking at
you're number 4.
All right, I'll take it. Number 4.
But like Frankie said, you won Barstool Idol, but I kind of want to go back before that. What got you into Barstool? I've seen your clip with Erica off of Token CEO, but if you can go into that, what you saw and you were like, you know what, this is cool, and I want to get into this.
Yeah. So before I even knew anything about Barstool, it was 2014, and I got my first job out of college. I'm actually 31. People always think I'm younger, but been around a minute. So I got my first job out of college. I saved up a little bit of money, and I decided I wanted to go do stand-up comedy. I was going to do the open mic stand-up comedian thing. So I moved to California. I moved from Texas to California. I lived in a van. I drove Uber. I was doing open mics every night and shit, that whole thing. And that's also when I just started blogging, because whatever, like I had all this time, I wanted to like get myself out there. So I wasn't that good at stand-up comedy, but I realized I could write pretty well. So then through that, I started reading Barstool stuff. And then I remember the very first rundown I watched, I think I was just chilling in the van, and it was a rundown with fights, KFC, and Big Cat. Dave wasn't even on. And Dave was in Texas with Tico. I don't know if you remember that. Like he went down with Tico, and I think they did whatever that like bootleg South by Southwest was. That wasn't South by Southwest at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what it's called. So, yeah, South by Southwest. So anyway, that was the first thing I ever watched, and I was like, this is fantastic. So then I went back through.
The fact that you thought that was fantastic, you're immediately a stoolie, because there was so much better than that out there. So that's hilarious, dude.
You gotta consider that was 2016-ish. So.
Dude, there was nothing, like nobody. You're right. Like in hindsight, it wasn't necessarily like, it doesn't seem that special now, but there was still like nobody who was talking about sports like that way at all.
No, you're right.
Just to have like three guys who are kind of like throwing it around and like, you know, they're cussing, like talking the way you talk. Because I was still watching ESPN. Like that was still like my main sports, you know, everything. I mean, I still watch it a little bit, but yeah. And then like I would read like Bill, I listened to the Bill Simmons podcast a little bit, but even that's like, it's good. He's very good. Like it's a very good podcast, but even that compared to Barstool, like it's not as relatable as Barstool was. So I watched that, and then I'm pretty sure I just spent that whole day watching old rundowns. And then, you know, again, this was kind of around the time I realized I was a better writer than stand-up, so I focused on writing a little bit. Then kind of gave up. I gave up probably like 2016 and got like a real job. So I moved back to Ohio and just worked like a couple sales jobs for a while. Didn't get back into writing until COVID. And then I was kind of on and off writing for a little bit. Like, honestly, I wasn't like putting, like, it was kind of behind me. Like my max like effort I was putting into it was almost kind of behind me. But then I randomly met Nick at a bar in Columbus on St. Patty's Day.
I remember this from the
Yeah, and I was pretty fucked up. Like we got a couple pictures. And that night, I mean, I was fucking drunk. Honestly, it was like St. Patrick's Day. I was drunk. I got like real depressed about like my job, and like somehow like Nick like triggered that in me. I got like real depressed about like what I'm doing, what my job is, whatever. Which is stupid, but for whatever reason,
man, it makes sense. Believe me, dude. I mean, there's there's a lot of us out there, man.
Yeah,
Frankie and I, you know, met all the guys in Chicago for the dozen, and that was kind of like it triggered like, dude, let's just do something.
Dude, just do it.
Yeah,
I was saying that literally started this podcast. We were just like, I was like, bro, let's just start the show. We've been talking about it. Like, let's just do it. We do Stoolie Wednesday. Let's just record us saying what we say on Stoolie Wednesday. Almost, it's like,
that's perfect.
But real quick,
love that shit. But
when you say you were writing, was that like writing jokes for like stuff or sketches, or what were you doing?
Really just blogs. So I wrote for a couple. I had like a couple.
So just blogs, no like you're writing jokes in your blogs, obviously, but you weren't writing like stand up or anything for other people at all.
No, it was just. I mean, I wrote my own stand up, but it was just blogging. So I wrote on johnrichtv.com primarily.
I was going to ask you about that.
You can go still see all the old shit there. And then I worked for like a couple random companies like Punch Drunk Sports. I don't know if you know like Sam Tripoli and Ari Shafir. That's their, I don't even know if they still do the podcast, but they're a couple comics. They did a podcast, had a website. So I wrote for them. And then I wrote for this company called Death Pen Sports, which I don't think they're doing that great now. But the guy told me after like writing for a little while, something along the lines of like comedy is like the lowest denominator, like something they're not looking for. He said something like really like, I was just like, well, this guy sounds like he fucking sucks. Like, so I kind of
he didn't want you to be genuine and actually put your personality out there. He wanted like more of a niche, it sounds like.
Yeah,
be
exactly.
Stiff.
Yeah, I was like writing college football for him, and I think he liked my blogs, but like I tried to like pitch doing like more funny stuff to him. And he was like, no. But yeah, I was just writing blogs. And then back to when I met Nick. So I met Nick. I wrote that blog about meeting Nick, and he actually read it and like told me, he's like, dude, that was hilarious. I love that. So that kind of sparked it again. And then I wrote some more and then made that Yak Jeopardy, which is how I got into
Right,
like
so
that's how I got on. I made a Jeopardy with all like a bunch of old Yak trivia. They played it on the show. They loved it. And I feel like Big Cat said, like, without even thinking, he's like, oh, that kid should be on Barstool Idol. So then I just like blew them up for the next like couple days. And TJ eventually got back to me. And I still didn't hear from him for like 2 months. So I was like, is this really going to happen? Like, do they like actually like remember this? But yeah, it did. I had a FaceTime with Katie Stats, and it took like 2 seconds because basically their screening process was like making sure people knew what Barstool was. And I was just like, yeah, like, no, you're good. Like, I get it. I know exactly what it's going to be. So
going into that process though, like you're going into Barstool Idol for a major, I mean, maybe they're not as major at the time back then, but still a major media company. And your guy was 600 Twitter followers, you know, at the time, right? So you're going into that and you start to get that initial bump from Barstool Idol. Does it start to become surreal? Like you're like, oh my God, like this is like, I can make this, I can do this.
Yeah, it was crazy. And it happened so fast too. Cause yeah, I mean, especially like everybody else in Barstool Idol, like they already kind of had a following. Like they had like something going on for them. But yeah, I think I went from 450 followers, and then every day during Barstool Idol, it would just rise by like more than 1,000. Like I think,
right.
I think I ended it with 26. So whatever, do the math. Like it just kept going up, and yeah, it was super overwhelming. Like the Barstool Idol days were so long. Like we woke up super early, got to the office, we were doing shit all day. And then I would go home or back to my hotel room. Me and my girlfriend were just here staying in a hotel. And I'd get in bed at like 10, but I couldn't get off my phone for like 4 hours. Cause like for the first time, like in my entire life, like people are like responding to me. And it was like the most fun thing ever. Like, and
yeah,
I was
not
like,
just responding, but like rooting hard for you, dude. Like that's the craziest part is you were talking about people had a following. All the stoolies were like, let's go fucking John Rich. Like, you know, that's why even like I know the reason why the Yak guys were like, try to do stuff that's not Barstool, try to do stuff that's not Barstool is because like they knew you already had it. Like you knew what it took to make the stoolies like you and to like win this thing. And they were like, all right, let's see if he could do other stuff too. Cause like I said, I thought from day one that they were gonna,
yeah. And it was kind of funny because I remember the t-shirt challenge. And this was the only time that like kind of pissed me off because like I knew what they were saying, like do something else. Like, and I totally get that.
But you want to win, dude. I get it.
Well, yeah,
like
because it was Wednesday at the end, or like the Wednesday, they're like, make a t-shirt design. All they said, make a t-shirt design. Whoever sells the most t-shirts wins.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, I'll sell the most t-shirts if I make this Yak shirt. And it was like
you were a salesman prior to that, so you knew it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I do know what they meant, and I kind of get it. I almost do think it was better that I didn't win in a way because of that, because Caroline's fucking awesome. Like she works really fucking hard and puts a ton of stuff out, and it's like a much different kind of hire than me. But
yeah, Please End This is an amazing sketch variety show, and she does so well on that. I went back and watched that interview that Erica did with you and her, and like she even was singing right there in front of Erica. So yeah, she's got that, you know, content personality. Let's go. Yeah,
so much more than me. Like she was so, I remember being pissed off during that interview because I felt like she cut me off like 100 times, and I was just like, well, fuck, like let me fucking talk. But I'm like, I don't know, I'm a little more shy. I just kind of like let it happen. But she is much more naturally like, she's much more naturally just goes for it. Like I still like don't feel comfortable promoting myself like all the way. Like it still just feels a little like weird to me. Like I'm always in the back of my head like, well, dude, why the fuck does anybody care like what I don't know, like what I happened at dinner to me tonight or like shit like that. But the people at Barstool who are really good do not think that way. Like they just fucking go for it. And yeah, so it's interesting.
There's a certain point that it kind of just comes with the gig that you kind of have to like ignore that ego side of things.
Right.
Like, dude, you're good at it. You're here for a reason. Put the shit out. So
Yeah,
I kind of get that.
Yeah. I'm constantly telling myself I need to do more, but I don't know. I think I got an okay balance so far, at least.
No, I mean, dude, I'm not going to lie. Like, I feel like you're doing enough to where like Dave will start to realize and be like, yeah, see, I made the right choice here. He's doing this, he's doing that. You got the content stuff coming out. Before I had one other question that I'll ask Jonathan, you can go in a minute here, but I wanted just to ask back because you talked about your Yak Jeopardy. Some of that stuff, I mean, I always like pride myself on being the #1 Yak fan in the Stoolies Clubhouse, and I always say that. And I didn't get like, I think like one or two of them. I was like, wait, what? Or I'm like, I don't remember if like I think maybe I remembered after, but like, how long have you been listening to the Yak, dude? Or did you go back and like, you know?
A long time, but I didn't listen to the version with what was the first version? Like Big Cat, Jared, and Coley.
It was wasn't it like Coley Mick? Wasn't Roan there?
Yeah, I guess Roan was there pretty much the whole time too. But when I started listening, I don't remember what year, but Coley was still on.
Oh wow, okay, so it was early.
Whenever
was Caleb on by that point or no?
Yes, Caleb too. Caleb was on. I remember when Nick joined. Like I remember Nick's first day.
You go from Barstool Idol, and then you mentioned how you were kind of camera shy at first. So it was strictly blogging for you at first. What was like the blog that really like you put out and you were like, okay, I'm good at this?
Oh man, that's a good question.
That like triggered that?
The blog that I was like the most proud of early on was when France, and this wasn't even that early. I mean, early, but like I'd been there for a little bit. Was when Francis got hired, and I wrote a blog about Francis, basically about like how much better he was at like all this stuff and like how intimidating it was. And
Dude,
that
was
I
so
felt
funny.
I felt like that was pretty good. And also like from the jump, I don't know. I mean, I got a bunch of like feedback that was like overwhelmingly positive from the jump. So it almost hit me like during Barstool Idol. Like I wrote that blog, and I'd always thought like I'd write these blogs, and I was like, dude, I feel like this is like better than a lot of the shit I see on Barstool. Like, I don't mean shit, like I don't mean that, but like I was like, I feel like I'm like holding my own with these people, and like maybe even better in some cases.
You deserve your flowers, bro. I would tell you, there's 4 people that whenever they drop a blog, I read it. Like I already read your Fasoli blog. Fasoli is an insane person, but there's 4 people. It's when Dave drops one, when Davey Blogs comes out, when Big Cat drops his NFL head coach blog, I have to get in there. And then Kareem and John Rich, like those are the top 4 that like every blog they drop, I go out and read, especially your dumping them out blog. Now, is the dumping them out blog, is that just from being a horny dude, or is that, respect for titties, or what is it?
Dude, it was kind of just a joke. Like, because I like, people like put up those blogs all the time. It's just like, wow, this Instagram model's really hot. Like, here are 20 of her Instagram photos, and they do like crazy numbers. And I remember kind of being like, well, fuck, I just want to do better numbers. What if I just write like a bunch of bullshit and just put a bunch of hot girls in there? And then I did it, and like people like, oh, this is amazing. And I still kind of feel like it's kind of a joke. It's like, oh yeah, like fucking hot chicks. But yeah, so then I started doing that, and it worked out, and it worked. It's always on like the top 5 whenever I put it out on Sunday. So if I like wrote like just only like the stuff I really want to write, it would take me a lot longer. Like it would take me like a couple days to write a good blog, and it wouldn't get nearly as many clicks. So you got to kind of try to find the balance of like, all right, you need to do like enough of like kind of the bullshit that are going to keep your numbers up, and then like mix in the shit you want to do along with it. And sometimes they kind of come together, and like sometimes you get a blog that's really good that you really
one
like
of those
writing,
that you can't wait to put out.
Yeah, exactly. And it depends. You usually know when a blog's going up if people are going to read it or not.
100%.
Well, I mean, you were saying like you can't just write about what you want to write about, and you got to write about things that are going to get clicks and whatever. Clickbait Smith. That's like the number one, like he was the number one blogger with that account for a little bit. Like some of those blogs were hitting insane numbers. I like loved when he was doing that just to prove a point to Nate back in the day too. When I got into Barstool, I just watched Stool Scenes from episode 1 through, and I was like, I know everything now. So it's like, even though I didn't watch that when it was happening, I was like commenting on current Barstool stuff and being like, why don't you write a what was that? Is that apple falling on your roof?
No. It was nothing. It was nothing. Actually, hold up.
Did you just spill that beer?
Did he drop his bottle?
No.
It was my tungsten card.
Oh, there we go.
I had it out. I thought you might ask about the tungsten, so I put it right here, and I just knocked it out. I kind of ruined the whole bit. I was going to break it out at a different time. But
no, that works. That works.
No,
we dropped it on the floor. Tungsten, member number 7.
That's a perfect segue to kind of my next question. There's a photo of you, John, that circulates pretty constantly, and I see it in replies all the time. Now, were you dead, dehydrated? Like, what happened there that made you look like you were 80 years old and like have not had a sip of water in years?
Dude, I don't know. All I can tell you is that was the day I flew back from investigating Mincy.
Okay.
So we were investigating Mincy for like 3 days. I flew back from New Orleans at like, I don't know, like 5. I got back at like 6 o'clock, and the tungsten meeting was at like 7. So I flew back, Newark Airport, went all the way across to like Chinatown, which is a bit of a haul. Like I was carrying all of my luggage and my backpack because I didn't want to miss the tungsten meeting so bad. Like I could have just gone home, but I was like, "Fuck!"
Oh, you can't miss the Tungsten Federation. Yeah.
So it was a bit of a bear to get there. I guess it was just a long week. I guess I didn't have my makeup on. Sometimes I put a little makeup on to make my eye bags not look as bad. I guess I didn't have any on that day. I was also doing a bit of a serious face. Like if I like look real serious, I can kind of do the face like.
That's not bad. You got to dim the lights and take some of the makeup off, but you're close.
That's
it. That's it.
Man. You're right. The lighting's not right. It was also the right lighting, I guess.
Yes.
But,
the up lights or the down lights, I guess you call them. Yeah,
It's a legendary photo. It's like something that they will use all the time. Someone just posted that saying like, "Oh, you're looking for." I think Fights put out a tweet saying like, we're looking for someone really ugly to play like someone that gets murdered or whatever, and someone tweeted that picture of you. It was like, I know a guy.
Dude, they were talking about it. We talked about it on Barstool Radio today for a minute.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they were. It's because they're photoshopping that picture into every tungsten picture, right?
Yeah, I guess. I was thinking about lying, so I didn't want to spoil it.
I was gonna say.
They're obviously photoshopped.
I was gonna say,
However,
I get it pretty good.
Maybe I shouldn't say that because people never seem to get it. Like, all the replies are like, "Oh my god, like John, terrible again. What happened?" It's like, do you not realize this is the same face on every picture?
I screenshotted like 6 or 7 comments. I don't know I forget if I sent them to you, Jonathan, or if I sent them in the chat or the group chat or whatever, but I was like, are these people idiots? Like they were all like, "Oh shit, John Rich dying again," or "Dude, you're looking even worse than last time." And I was thinking to myself, it's the same fucking picture, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, I looked so fucking good in the last picture too. Like I came home and I was and I showed my girlfriend. I was like, "Look how good I was. This is a great picture." She's like, "Oh, that's awesome. Like now it'll like go up and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh, well, they're gonna Photoshop it. So don't worry about that. They're gonna fix that right away."
It was really good though. It was a good Photoshop, I will say. Like it was very
Nick's a beast with that stuff.
That's one of the things that I love most about like being a stoolie and following Barstool is like it makes it like the most genuine place to work because you guys just like are yourselves, and that's what us stoolies enjoy the most for sure.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot. Stressful all the time, kind of. You're always kind of stressed about what you're doing next. I feel like you don't really get to like.
Well, especially now the stress it's coming back. You got to be at work on time.
It's so much better. It's already so much better with Dave there, and like just more people being there makes it so much better.
Yeah, it gives you more of that HQ2 vibe.
Yeah, and it's funny because everybody like whenever they talk about Barstool Radio, like we had a company meeting today. And KFC was like addressing this. He's like, "Look, I know like in the past, like I know how much people hated Barstool Radio, and like dreaded being here in the office because you were going to get like pulled in and like called out for stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, dude, you know how bad I like want this to happen? Like, I can't even like relate. But I was saying this to someone else today too. Like, to me, it's like amazing. I can't imagine not wanting it. But then like, as soon as something goes south, I'm probably going to be like, oh man, fuck, this fucking sucks. But until that happens, I love it.
I always say the king of like all pranks and all that stuff is Rowan. Has he been like a ringleader in a lot of the stuff, or is it just kind of like The Office really does just prank a lot and like, you know, things like, because I know like making Tommy's nose a little bit bigger is not really a prank, but I feel like there's just so much stuff that goes on. Like, does he lead a lot of that stuff? Because he sure gets the rap that he does a lot, you know?
Yeah. I haven't necessarily been involved, I guess, in as many like Rowan pranks. I actually have a funny story about Rowan. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell this, but I'm going to. He got pranked the other day, and maybe he told this. Maybe he told on Son of a Boy Dad or something. He was going to a party for Pat Beverly, and he asked like, and you're supposed to like bring a gift, and like he asked somebody like what gift he should bring, and like somebody like jokingly said, "Oh, just bring something gay." Like that was what they told him, and he's like, "Oh, all right, that's kind of funny." He brought like a giant dildo, and then that wasn't the theme like at all. Like he just showed up with the. I don't think he ever even gave it to him. Like he was texting Nick. He's like, "Dude, I showed up, and like that's just not the gift." So I think he took it back. So nobody probably even knows about it. But
I feel like when you're saying this, I feel like it's like kicking into my head. Like I heard this before, so he might have told it on one of like the. I think he might have did it on like the Boy Dad, or what do they call it?
Son of a Boy Dad.
No, the when they had the anus Boy Dad collab.
Oh, that crossover.
Boy Story,
right?
Boy
That's
Story.
I think I think he either did it on a Boy Story or on a Boy Story Yak. I think he might have mentioned it because like when you said that immediately, I was like, wait a second, I remember something about it being super awkward and him being like, no.
Yeah. So, yeah, I didn't really answer your question. Honestly, no. I haven't witnessed Roan really pranking anybody. Maybe I just haven't been around for it, but I'm trying to think. The only people who have like pulled pranks, I mean, Tommy getting Mincy was obviously hilarious.
Yeah,
that whole thing was great.
Actually, dude, Tommy is the prank guy because he also did Frankie Borelli when he did the Frankie Borelli call. That I swear to God, bro, that my face hurt for just minutes and minutes after I watched that video from laughing because Frankie was legitimately scared for his life, and it was Tommy. Like it was. Dude,
I remember I only like half watched that. Like I was like kind of doing something else whenever I watched that because I think that was before I was there. And I thought the whole thing was like kind of staged because I was like hearing Frankie off to the side. I'm like, there's no way that's real. There's no way he's actually falling for this. And then like I realized like a couple of days later, I was like, wait a second, like he actually like that was like legit. Like Frankie actually thought he actually got pranked. That was an incredible one.
No, Tommy's very good at what he does. I kind of want to circle back though, just from initially all blogging. At what point did you start producing the rundown and getting blamed where the TV is set?
Dude, so the rundown, this was honestly like kind of scarring for me. Like, I don't know if you remember this John Rich's Wild blog I wrote. If you look it up, it's a hell of a blog.
Look it up right after this, and yeah.
So basically, I had this idea, and I thought it would be funny to see how drunk I could get at work without people knowing. Like, 'cause we have like alcohol everywhere.
Oh, this was after KB's Wild.
Yeah, after KB's Wild, I did John Rich's Wild, which was me.
Sorry, it just triggered that when you said that. I remember. Yeah.
So I did that, and it was funny. I was doing like a play-by-play of it, and like the blog was good. And then I'm not even joking. Like I've said this a few times. I don't know if Dave's actually heard this said or not, but like that all happened. I was fucking drunk, like at work. It was late in the day. and Dave sent an email like yelling at people about the rundown and like how like no one's taking it seriously. It's like a mess, blah, blah, blah. And I DM'd him like a long fucking DM, like a long, like rambling DM, like maybe a few of them, like just like quick in succession, like getting my whole pitch, like, oh, I've been a stoolie for so long, like let it like give the rundown to somebody who like loves the show and hasn't watching it and knows what he's doing, blah, blah, blah. He responds like 2 minutes later, like, it's like, perfect. From now on, you're in charge. Sends out a company email like 2 seconds later, like, John Rich is now in charge of the rundown. Like, the only people who can say no are like, I think he just said like KFC and fight. Like, if you're not like KFC or Big Cat, like, and he asks you to do it, you got to do it. And I was like, yes, it's awesome. And then like for the next like few days, I was like, holy fuck. And I published that blog. Like, and I think I posted a couple days later, and I was like, dude, am I gonna get like in trouble for this? Like, it kind of fucked with me, because then I also kind of like threw the producers of the rundown under the bus, like by doing that, like saying that like I was better than them. And then like so then like all of a sudden I'm working with these guys, and I'm like, damn, like I just got drunk and like fucking. But it worked. I don't think anybody cares. I think it was funny content. Like, but that kind of, I don't know. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that worked out. But the way that
hell yeah, dude,
a lot. Like that was a little much. I needed no more drinking at work after that.
I can immensely relate with that. So you're from the Perrysburg, BG, Toledo area, right? So after the Navy, I went back to Toledo.
Okay.
I worked for Buckeye Cable Sports Network.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I sent a reply all email by accident, basically saying I was a better cameraman than any of them that they had already.
Dude.
The next week I was working camera. So like I can totally like relate to that. It was an accident that I sent a reply all because I too was drunk emailing the boss.
Oh, that's wild.
But it worked out. What's that?
That's worse.
Oh yeah, because everybody saw it. There's like 110 people in the company that read that email and like replied and like LOL, like ha ha ha, whatever. And the next week, I had a nickname for a while called Reply All, but it doesn't matter because I was running camera and making more money, so they could all suck my dick at the end of the day. So how I look
right,
yeah,
dude. That's funny.
I'm gonna have to get drunk and tweet out to the world that I'm a better podcaster than everyone at Barstool.
Yeah,
maybe tomorrow they'll pick us up.
Yeah, exactly.
I've gotten drunk and DM'd Hank a lot. Don't worry, I'm already on top of that.
Yeah, that's fine. I've sent plenty of DMs myself.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like you listen to you guys enough, and you're like, well, all they do is just like talk shit to all these guys for a while, and it works out.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
All right, man. I know you got to go soon, but I got to ask you about John Rich Investigates, because that's the new content. That's the thing that I really like. In my opinion, that kind of puts you in that like solidified category where I don't want to say you're a made man, but I think you're.
I don't know about
doing. That's why I said I'm not saying that, but you're doing the rundown, which is a big thing, and then you're also doing other content now. Like that makes me feel like you are in that boat where it's like, okay, you're not on Garbage Island or whatever.
Well, I'm not in the garbage section. I'm not in the garbage section. That's very clear. Dave clearly dubbed the garbage section, which is the section I would never want to sit in a million years. I'm perfectly comfortable where I'm at. I'm not mad about it or salty about it at all.
Tommy fucking smokes. No way.
No, dude. Francis Roan, gross, disgusting. I don't want to sit there. But yeah, dude, that went well, man. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous about that yesterday. Like when I came home before it dropped, like I get so anxious. Like when I'm dropping a video, like I'm just like, dude, I don't know if people are gonna like it. Like it's different than the Mincy one. Like I feel like people are expecting something different, and I'm doing like kind of a different video. But yeah, it went over well, and yeah, it's like,
dude, I swear to God, it started, and I was like, no way, he's doing it like this. This is so fake. This is not real. And then all of a sudden you start grilling Will, and I was like, oh, here it is. This is awesome. Like it was so like
super genuine.
So sick, dude.
That's what Fights was saying on Barstool Radio today. We're like, you can see Will cower up a little bit, like kind of get like emotional. It's like, damn, John Rich really just ended his career.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get to talk to NFL players and coaches. Like talk about getting your dream job hello,
Dude,
that's
I know.
sick, dude. You know,
that was wild. And yeah, obviously Will had no idea. So that confrontation, I talked to him for like 45 minutes. Like there was 45 minutes of that, of me and Will going back and forth at each other. And I really want to release that whole thing because I honestly think that 45 minutes is better than the video itself.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, because it's like Will's like shitting on me a lot more. He's like calling out like what is this, an investigation, like an interrogation, like what are you investigating? And I'm just like yelling back at him about like it's like you're thinking too hard about it, dude. Just like go with the fucking video. Dude, it was funny. I think I'm gonna have to do that. So Sully says we can, so I'll probably let it chill for a little bit, but I want to release that whole video because. Like at one point I dropped my notes. Like I had notes like on my phone. Like I dropped my phone and he was like shitting on me for that. And like I think I held my own pretty well. Like I went back.
Yeah, you called him a pussy.
Yeah, dude. I literally was watching that with Fasoli when I called him a pussy, and I could not believe that. Like I don't remember that.
You were so
that
like,
I did that.
Yeah, you were so like I don't want to say shy, but you were shyer than mostly everybody on Barstool Idol. For you to go to in between two NFL players that have a major podcast and to just do that, I was like, holy shit, John Rich, dude, you are
the cowboy
like,
hat, man. That's what does.
Yeah, dude. But just like
it was the cowboy hat.
That trajectory, bro. I was like, damn, like dude, that was a change and a half since Barstool Idol, man.
Yeah, it was nuts. I don't really know where it came from, but shit, I'm glad I worked out, and it seems to be doing pretty well.
Oh,
problem is with that video, that series, you can't just like, it's not like a series where you just like pick a new city and like go there. Like you kind of got to have like the perfect situation. And like, that's why like we had to do the Will video differently, because honestly, like maybe we could have figured out a way, but like we couldn't have just like stalked Will. Like the way like Mincy like was set up, like we could manipulate Mincy in a way that it's pretty easy to follow around and do that. Like, but that's probably the nature with the video though. Like everyone is probably going to be like a little different. Like some might be more like Mincy, where like we're stalking him. Some might be more like Will, where he's kind of like it's always like kind of tongue in cheek. Like we set some stuff up. It's like obviously a joke, but then like there's a real confrontation. Like if we want to keep doing this, we're going to have to go like a bunch of different angles because
course, yeah.
I guess maybe there's ways we could just like really like follow people around, like get really close to them like that. But
yeah, but not everyone's gonna be like when Megan Making Money is walking out of the arena with Mincy and you're just walking behind him, 2 feet behind him the whole time. Like, you probably could have. Weren't you wearing a mustache? You probably could have like not had on like the disguise or whatever you had, or no, it's just glasses and a hat. Like you probably could have just been John Rich and him not realize it.
Yeah. That's probably true, but at the same time, we want to do something a little bit different, I guess. Anyway, it was just harder to figure
out. Phenomenal stuff. Yeah. I think my favorite clip. It's like beginning of that the Mincy investigation. It's you ask a horse. You're like Ben Mintz, and I just
people love that. That was funny. I didn't even think that much about that, but yeah, I remember the horse was funny. So
yeah, it was.
Or fuck it. I also pitched right after the Mincy one. It's like, all right, who are you gonna do next? And I was like, what if we just do Mincy like once a month and he just never notices and we just do Mincy over and over and over again. So maybe we'll just run Mincy back a few times.
Especially now that he's back. You could call it like investigating a new employee, Ben Mintz.
Like, you should just change the name to Mincy Investigates or Mincy Investigation instead.
I think so. I have a couple more quick ones for you.
Yeah, go for it. You're good.
So you're staying in New York, right? Yeah.
Yep, I'm staying here.
At least until the Tungsten Federation goes.
Yes, correct.
So is there more John Rich content ideas coming out of that? Like, I think before you had talked about doing a news thing. And I know you do like tomorrow's news today on your TikTok, which, gets like 37 likes every time. Which
dude, I bailed on that. Was so demoralizing. I need to get back into it. They talked to us again today about how important TikTok is. It's just so to get like 5 likes on a video. It's like, dude, I work at Barstool. I should have like a little, like, this is so embarrassing.
I used to laugh every time you tweet out. I was like, why is my TikTok so bad? And then I'd go watch your TikTok and see that you had like 5 or 6 likes. Like, how is this possible?
Dude, I think I'm the only person in the world who can post the same thing on Twitter and TikTok and get more like likes on Twitter.
Yeah, true. I get 100%. I like some of my TikTok videos do really well. I post them on Twitter. I get a like.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Dude, but
yeah,
no, I'll get back into it. I'm gonna have to run it back and figure out something to do with TikTok. But I think a lot of people tell you that, who like when you try it for the first time and like they're used to getting a certain amount of engagement on like Twitter or wherever, and then it's like, dude, this is like, what's the point of this? But you got to keep going at it. I understand it's not like the first one isn't necessarily going to pop off, but
no, for sure. But with the evolution of New York becoming like the hub of comedy and stuff, are there more like ideas that you're trying to get involved in the future? Or
yeah, I met with Tommy about something. The idea is in general, I don't think I'm spoiling anything because it's not super fleshed out, but we were talking about doing, I guess it's similar to Stool. It'd be kind of similar to Stool Scenes, but it'd be, I guess, a little bit more like the Will Investigates video where like it's like scripted. Okay. So like we would set like, obviously people would know it's scripted, but like we'd like set up office situations. It might just be like a quick like 10, 15-minute video. You could like have like, that's kind of a fake scenario, set up, you know, something that goes down. I don't really have any examples, but
I mean, you're just describing my favorite TV show, which is The Office, but with my favorite company, which is Barstool. Right. So that would be incredible. I would watch that.
I guess I'll give you one idea. I thought one would be funny to try to convince Francis and Sass to be like the official Barstool comedians and like wear Barstool stuff every time they go up and get like Viva chants going in the crowd. And like obviously they would like hate that, but like trying to like force it on them. So like just like little like dumb stuff like that. So I think we might start doing that eventually. But
that would be great because Sass would never do that.
Yeah, exactly. It would be his least favorite thing in the world.
Yeah. We had Viva chance going on the Stoolie Wednesday last night, actually.
Yeah.
Really?
It was
started by Fasoli. Fasoli started the first one.
They talked about Stoolie Wednesday today with the guy with the shit. I can't think of his fat name now.
David Walsh.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh God. Oh yeah, he's a fan.
Yeah, he was in Stoolie Wednesday last night, and that's what Kevin opened up Barstool Radio with today.
Dude, that guy's a psycho. Fucking psycho.
Yeah, he don't gut it.
I might write a blog about him. I was thinking about it.
Please do.
What is your favorite Barstool memory so far?
Favorite Barstool memory. Honestly, I said this a little bit earlier. My favorite thing I do with Barstool, and it's so stupid because it's not even content at all. The tungsten meetings are the funniest things like I'm a part of ever. Like going to Dave and Buster's, and we legitimately have like a 2-hour-long meeting about like official tungsten business and new members and talking about whatever, like retreats, like planning stuff. It's so fucking funny. And we got like Nick there and like those guys, they're just fucking hilarious. That is my favorite thing to do at Barstool. Like that is my favorite thing by far. Yeah, my favorite like in office memory, boy, that's tough. Tommy's Mincy arrest was pretty good because Mincy was supposed to be on the rundown like as that was happening. So I was like one of the few people who knew that like it was staged because like Tommy needed me to like delay, like so like Mincy didn't start the rundown. So I kind of like delay. I kind of like felt like in the loop. I was like part of that a little bit because I knew it was happening. That was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I guess getting hired was probably the coolest.
Well, yeah, 100%.
Also, the first
idol, maybe.
I tweeted something about this too. The day after I won Barstool Idol, there's this thing called Emo Night, which is like basically it's like in the basement of a club or something, and there's like a DJ, and he just plays like old like alternatives, like early 2000s music. And they gave us like VIP, and I was there with like Tommy, Nick, Roan, I think KB was there, like girlfriends and shit, like a whole bunch of Barstool people. And just doing that like 2 days after like getting the job there, that was probably that was about the happiest I've ever been. Like that was so cool. So
Yeah, I bet.
be a part of that,
Yeah,
just stuff like that. Awesome.
Yeah, one of those
Yeah,
I
I mean-
made it moments.
Yeah, and that's like at that point, you do work for Barstool, but you're basically still Stoolie at that point because
Right.
2 days in, you know what I mean? Like those are
No
still like the people you look up
responsibilities
to.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's funny like you mentioned that because like Jonathan and I, luckily we got to hang out with like Roan and PFT
Yeah.
and Max and like all these guys, TJ, like everyone that was from the dozen finale all went out to a bar. And the reason I even asked about Roan was because I literally just said I wanted to get into I was like, I want to get into some mischief, bro. And he's like, dude, let's go. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And I was like, let's like shove a bunch of straws in people's pockets without them knowing. He took the entire straw thing, just took it, like the whole thing, and just started jamming them in people's pockets. Like it was like immediate. So I was like, man, he's down to clown all the time.
Dude, he is down to clown. I bet we see a little bit more of that now that people are going to be in the office a little bit more, trying to make content. I bet we're going to get some more Roan hijinks.
Well, I'm excited to see what comes from both him and Sass because they, no longer with the Yak, which sucks. But like, does that lead them to radio? Does that lead them into doing more like boy dad stuff? Like, I can't wait to see how this all how I can't find the word how it all plays out with like New York and Chicago and like how that rivalry is going to be,
Yeah, I can't wait to. I still don't know how it's going to be. We're still so new. I don't think ton of people have even talked about exactly what it's going to be like. We had like our first meeting with Kevin today, just kind of very like base level talking about like what
that photo is going to be iconic eventually.
Yeah,
that they posted, like where Kevin's just leading the whole New York off. I mean, when I saw that and like Frank the Tank's sitting back there, like, why won't I say Frank is right? Like, what the fuck? Like, yeah, no, it's awesome to see that like that kind of stuff's going on again because that's the Barstool that everyone loves for sure.
Yeah, oh, dude, I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm happy I made the move to stay in New York. I think it's gonna be good for me. So, yeah, we'll see. Keep doing the rundown. Keep blogging.
Right.
Hopefully find some more people to investigate, maybe do some other stuff. We'll see.
I hear you. Frankie, you have anything else for him?
No, I was going to say, that's awesome, man. We appreciate you being on here and we appreciate your time. And, if you ever want to come back on or if you ever got anything, obviously you're always welcome. We tell everybody it's like PMT. Once you're on once, you're going to be a recurring guest. So
you have to come on. Yeah, you have to come on when we ask. Yeah.
That's
perfect.
Right.
Just let me know.
Yeah, well, I can't thank you enough. A guy from my neck of the woods, I see make it to Barstool. Like it's awesome having you on, brother. And big fan of your stuff. Can't wait to see what's next.
Dude, I appreciate what you guys are doing too. This is fun. It's nice to get some other people who aren't on as much stuff to come on and talk. So I really like this. This is cool.
All right. Thank you, Detective John Rich. We appreciate the interview. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that interview, learned some new stuff about John Rich, new stuff that's going to be going on with him, with the Barstool universe in general.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, Frankie. Like, we sat and talked with John, like I said, in the intro for an hour, and I feel like it could have been 2 or 3. I mean, John Rich is a very interesting person. I'm glad he was able to come on the show. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, no doubt. To have a Stoolie on that's now an employee, we already had that with Neil, but now that we have one that's in content in the office and stuff as well, just such a cool, moment to, get to talk to him and kind of shoot the shit. So appreciate it, John Rich. And now let's move into our roulette wheel. I am going to pick red. I'm not going to ride the black again. So I'm 3-0.
I gotta get a fucking dub.
I was going to say, if we get to 5-0, you're going to have to do something. I don't know what, though.
I'll piss my pants if it's 5-0. Motherfucker.
Whoa, let's go.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This roulette wheel is starting to piss me off.
Lose.
Like I said, I think you're pre-selecting stuff. It's something here is off. Something here is off.
You watched the fucking page load this time. There's nothing more I can do for you. The kid is just on 4-0. Let's go.
Yeah, well, even if I'm over on the wheel, I mean, taking wins every week because we're here and it's always good to be on the Barstool Breakdown.
Absolutely. Viva.
It's the Barstool Breakdown. Go ahead and give it to me. Breakdown. Let's listen to those guys.